You don't ever really see it coming, not when you're the one wearing the blindfold. My name's Jacob Harris, 31 years old, born and raised in Lexington, Kentucky. Ordinary guy. I work at the feed store my uncle left behind, pay my taxes, water the lawn on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and always remember to put gas in my wife's car when I take it. Well, used to. It was a Thursday when she said it. I remember because the sun was halfway down and she was still wearing the dress she wore to lunch with her mother. Blue with tiny white flowers. The kind of dress that makes you wonder if she was ever really yours to begin with. I need a break, Jake, she said, not even looking up from her suitcase. Just stuffing things in like she was packing for a weekend trip and not walking out on 7 years of marriage. A break from what, exactly? I asked. My voice stayed calm. I've never been the kind to yell. But inside me, a storm had already started. From all of it. From us. From this house. I need to sort myself out. Sort herself out. Like she was a jigsaw puzzle and I was the last piece that never quite fit. Is there someone else? I asked. That got her attention. Her head snapped up like I'd slapped her with the words. No, Jake. It's not like that. I need space. You don't understand. No, I didn't. Not then. She moved out the next morning. Her father came with a trailer hitched to the back of his pickup, grunting and nodding like I was the cause of all this, like I'd chased her off with a stick. Her mother didn't come in. Just waited in the car, arms crossed, sunglasses on, like she was witnessing a crime scene. I watched the trailer disappear down the street and then walked inside to silence. You ever really hear your house when it's empty? The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the fridge, the ticking clock above the mantel, it all sounds like judgment. She moved into a rental on the other side of town. I only knew because I saw the lease agreement tucked under a stack of papers in the drawer she forgot to clear out. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. That's when something itched inside me. Wouldn't stop. An ache behind the ribs. Doubt mixed with something darker. She said she wanted to sort herself out. But the night she left, I swear to God, her phone lit up every 5 minutes. She didn't check it. Just let it buzz. That's when I knew I had to find out. The first time I drove by her new place, I told myself it was just curiosity. Nothing more. I wanted to see that she was safe. That she hadn't moved in with someone else. That she was, maybe, lonely like I was. That little white lie kept me company in the cab of my truck as I took a left down the quiet street where her rental sat. It wasn't much to look at, a plain, beige single-story with plastic flower boxes and a patchy lawn. One of those places built for function, not charm. Her car was parked out front, same silver Toyota I used to wash for her on weekends. The porch light was on, and through the front window, I could see movement. Curtains drawn just enough for me to catch a glimpse of her silhouette moving in the living room. I didn't stop. Just slowed the truck, hands tight on the wheel, and kept going. Maybe I was ashamed, or maybe I wasn't ready to admit what I already suspected. But by the second time, I came prepared. Drove in the evening, just after sunset. Brought a thermos of coffee, parked on the curb behind a tall sycamore across the street, and killed the engine. It was a quiet neighborhood. The kind where folks wave at each other during morning walks but don't pry too deep. It suited her. A place to disappear. She didn't look sad. That was the part that stung. Through the window I watched her hum to herself as she cooked something in the kitchen, barefoot in jeans and a t-shirt. She poured herself a glass of wine and danced a little. No music I could hear, just something in her head, maybe. That smile on her face? It wasn't the kind you wore when you were sorting yourself out. It was the kind you wore when you were finally free. I left after 20 minutes that night. Went home, drank the rest of the coffee cold, and tried not to think about it. But the itch started to grow. Not just under my skin, in my brain. In my bones. She left me. Fine. But I needed to know why she looked so damn content. The third time, I noticed something strange. A man had come by to mow the lawn. That in itself wasn't suspicious. It was a big yard, and she hated yard work. But I watched him, tattoos snaking up both arms, jeans torn at the knee, tank top hanging loose on a lean, muscular frame. He took his time. Mowed slow, like he was being paid by the hour. Afterward, she brought him a drink. Lemonade or something stronger, I couldn't tell. He stood on the porch talking to her for a while. Then he left. Or so I thought. Next morning, I drove past again, and his truck was parked out front. Early. Before 8. No mower in the back. Just him, leaning against the railing, smoking a cigarette and texting. I parked half a block away and waited. He stayed for 2 hours. She didn't come outside. I started keeping notes. Times, dates, truck appearances. I felt insane doing it, but every time I stopped myself, I heard that damn headboard again. The noise I hadn't even heard yet but knew was coming. I didn't confront her. Didn't call or knock or rage. I just watched. Waiting for the lie to show itself. A week later, it did. It was a Friday night. Full moon. The kind that makes everything glow just enough to show shadows moving behind curtains. I pulled up to my usual spot. She had a habit of opening the bedroom window a crack when it was warm, and that night, it was almost hot. I could hear the cicadas in the trees, the faint thump of a neighbor's stereo in the distance. Then came the sound. A rhythmic creaking. A muffled moan. I felt like my heart had stopped. My ears focused so hard I thought they might bleed. The noise wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable. The thud of a bed frame hitting the wall. The sharp intake of breath. Her voice. Soft at first. Then rising. God, I knew that sound. I'd spent years chasing it, pleasing her, learning the rhythm of her breath and the way her voice changed when she was close. And now I was hearing it from outside, watching shadows flicker behind the curtains. And then, a man's voice. Laughter. Familiar. It was him. The lawn guy. That cheap piece of work with his ragged jeans and smug smirk. He came to cut the grass and stayed to plow my wife. The rage didn't hit me like a flood. It came like a tide. Slow, rising, impossible to hold back. I stood there a long time. Long after the noise stopped. Long after the lights went out. I went home and sat in the dark. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The next morning, I drove to her parents' place. Her father answered the door, scowling like I was a rat on his porch. "What do you want?" he barked. "We need to talk," I said. "She's cheating on me." Her mother appeared behind him. Thin and pale, always looking like she just walked out of a soap opera. "Don't start this, Jake," she said. "She told us what you've been doing." "Doing?" I laughed. "You mean watching her screw the lawn guy while pretending to get her life together?" Her father lunged forward. "Get off our property before I call the cops." Her mother shook her head. "I always knew you were too insecure. You can't handle a woman wanting time for herself." That was it. They didn't believe me. Worse, they thought I was the villain. But I had something they didn't. Patience. And a plan. I waited 3 days after the blow-up before driving by again. The porch was dark. Her car was gone. No sign of the lawn guy's truck either. The patch of grass out front had started to yellow, like it had given up too. I didn't park. Just rolled by, slow and silent, like a funeral procession. I should have felt satisfied. Vindicated. But all I felt was tired. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, the footage playing on loop on my laptop screen. Her, barefoot on the porch, screaming after him. Her parents standing in the driveway, shaking their heads. The neighbors whispering. The ex screaming. You couldn't script that kind of chaos. And yet, something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it, not at first. But the more I watched, the more I noticed, she didn't look heartbroken. She looked confused. Like the world had tilted and she couldn't find her footing. Like she didn't know who had pushed it. I should have left it there. Closed the laptop, deleted the footage, moved on. But I didn't. Instead, I drove to her new place again the next evening. This time, I parked. Got out. Walked up to the front door. The porch creaked under my boots. I knocked once. No answer. I knocked again. Footsteps. Slow. Hesitant. When she opened the door, she didn't look angry. She didn't look scared. She looked hollow. "Jake," she said quietly. "What do you want?" "To talk." She stepped aside without a word. The house smelled like burnt toast and lavender candles. Clutter everywhere. Dishes in the sink, laundry on the couch, wine glasses on the table. It looked like a place someone lived in but never truly inhabited. She sat in the armchair. I stayed standing. "I know what you did," she said. Her voice was low. Even. "I know you don't," I replied. "Because if you did, you wouldn't be alone right now." Her eyes narrowed. "You think this is some victory? You ruined my life." "No," I said. "You did that. I just made sure everyone saw it." Silence. Then she laughed. Not a joyful laugh. A bitter, tired one. He was nothing. A rebound. A distraction. "You think this is about sex? About him?" I was trying to breathe, "Jake. You ever think of that?" I didn't answer. She stood up and walked to the window, arms crossed. "You made your point. Now what?" "Now what?" That was the question, wasn't it? "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think we're past pretending we ever understood each other." She turned to me then. For the first time in months, she really looked at me. Not like an ex. Not like an enemy. Just a man she used to know. "I'm leaving town," she said. "Next week." "Where?" "Somewhere colder. Somewhere quiet." I nodded. "Good," I said. "I hope it freezes the part of you that could lie like that." She flinched, but only a little. Then she looked away. "You should go," she whispered. I did. But as I walked back to the truck, a new idea settled into me like frost under the skin. She was running. Again. And people who run usually think they're safe once they're out of sight. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I was ready to launch my revenge. I had her routine mapped, the lawn guy's truck patterns down to a science, even a USB drive with audio from a hidden recorder I'd placed under her cracked bedroom window. It was damning stuff, moans, laughter, crude whispers that would make a preacher blush. My plan was to deliver this proof to her holier-than-thou parents and ruin whatever image they clung to. But then something happened that I never saw coming. She disappeared. One day the house was quiet. The next, it was empty. I knew the signs: the car gone, the windows dark, no trash can set out, no lights flickering at dusk. I waited for a day. Then 2. Then a week. Still nothing. Even the lawn started to grow again. I tried calling, no answer. Texted, nothing. I even messaged her mother to ask if she was okay. The reply chilled me, we thought she was with you. I reread it 3 times. That night I drove to her place and parked again. Got out of the truck and walked straight up to the porch. It was the first time I'd done that since she left me. The door was locked, but the back window wasn't. I climbed through, heart pounding like I was committing a crime. The air inside smelled off, like stale wine and something sharper. No furniture. Her pictures were gone from the mantel. Her drawers empty. But in the kitchen, I found something. A note, taped under the counter. If anything happens to me, it wasn't Jake. He may be many things, but he's not a killer. That's when the police showed up. Guns drawn. Yelling. Down on your knees. Hands where we can see them. I didn't resist. Just stared at them, stunned. One of them shoved my face into the floor while another read me my rights. Something about trespassing. Something about suspicion in a missing person case. As they dragged me out, a neighbor across the street watched from her porch. She was the type who always had binoculars and a notepad. The nosy kind. You were always lurking, she hissed. I told them you were trouble. I spent that night in a cell. And the next morning, I found out the worst part. The lawn guy was missing too. Now, everyone thought I'd snapped. But I hadn't. At least, I didn't think I had. I didn't recognize her at first. She came through the automatic doors just after 6 p.m., a little early for the usual Friday night rush. The motel lobby smelled like old pine cleaner and microwave dinners, same as always, but the moment she stepped in, the air shifted. She was wearing sunglasses even though the sun had nearly dropped below the trees, and her hair was pulled up tight in a bun like it was trying to hide something. The suitcase trailing behind her looked brand new. That made her stand out. But it wasn't until she reached the desk and pulled her sunglasses down that I felt it, that thud in my chest, that bitter, black realization. It was her. Claire. My wife. The same woman who whispered she needed time and then moaned another man's name 2 weeks later in her little beige rental. And here she was. At my motel. Of all places. Need a room? I asked, calm as dead water. I kept my voice level. I didn't blink. I didn't even breathe too deep. She stared at me like I was a ghost. Like she didn't know what to do with the fact that I was behind the counter, wearing a name tag, wiping dust off the keycards. Like it didn't make sense that I was still standing after everything she'd done. Jake, she said softly. I didn't know you worked here. Neither did your boyfriend, I bet. Her face flushed. That's not fair. Neither was you leaving. We stared at each other in silence for a moment too long. She looked thinner, like she hadn't been eating. But her makeup was perfect. Her nails freshly painted. There was something frantic in her eyes, though. Something nervous. I just need one night, she said finally. I left the house. You live in a rental, I said. You didn't leave anything. You moved in. She looked away, ashamed. Good. I handed her a room key. Room 9. Corner unit. Quiet. She took the card without looking me in the eye. Thank you. I watched her walk down the hallway, shoulders stiff, dragging that sleek little suitcase like she was still trying to look dignified. Still trying to convince herself she was in control. But I knew better. Claire wasn't here by accident. Something happened. And I was going to find out what. Room 9 stayed quiet for an hour. I kept glancing at the monitor on the wall behind the counter, cheap security feed we used mostly for insurance purposes. But tonight, I was glued to it. The tiny screen showed the outdoor corridor leading to the corner units. Claire hadn't left. No one had joined her. At 7:42 p.m., the light in her room clicked on. At 8:17, I heard the front door open again. It wasn't her. It was him. The lawn guy. Same ragged jeans, same smug walk like the world owed him a drink. He didn't even notice me standing behind the desk at first, just strutted in like he owned the place, eyes scanning for her. When his gaze finally landed on me, it took him a second to place me. And then I saw it, that flicker of surprise, confusion, maybe even fear. "You," he muttered. "The husband." I smiled. "Still am, technically." He took a few cautious steps toward the desk. "I'm looking for Claire." "You don't say." "She texted me. Told me to meet her here." "Oh, she's here all right." I slid my hand under the counter, found the baseball bat I kept for rowdy guests. Didn't grab it, just reminded myself it was there. Room 9. Far end. He hesitated. "You let her stay here?" I shrugged. "Business is business. I don't turn down paying customers." He gave me one last weird look, then walked past me. The security monitor showed him reaching her door, knocking twice. She didn't open right away. I turned the monitor's sound dial up just enough to catch their voices through the grainy feed. "Claire? What are you doing here? You told me to come." "No, I didn't. I said I needed space." There was a pause. Then a sound like something being dropped. Maybe her bag. Maybe his temper. "You're freaking out," he said. "Is this about your husband? He's not the problem." "Then what is?" She didn't answer right away. She stepped out onto the walkway, just barely in view of the camera. Her shoulders were shaking. I thought she was crying at first. But she wasn't. She was laughing. "You idiot," she said. "You're not even that good. And you're so dumb. Do you really think I left my marriage for you?" I leaned in closer. Whatever game she was playing, it wasn't going how he expected. He backed up a step. "What the hell's going on?" Claire wiped her eyes. "He knows. My husband. He knows everything. And you? You're just a mistake I thought I'd enjoy." He grabbed her arm. "Don't screw with me, Claire." That's when I left the desk. By the time I made it outside, they were in a full-blown argument. Room 10's curtains twitched, a curious guest peeking out. I waved them off and stepped into the corridor. "Everything okay out here?" I asked, voice calm. The lawn guy looked at me like he wanted to lunge. But he saw the bat in my hand and thought better of it. Claire looked up at me, eyes wild. "I made a mistake," she said. "I should have stayed with you." It didn't even register right away. I was watching him, waiting for a twitch in the wrong direction. But then her words hit me. "I should have stayed with you." Too late for that. Still, I kept quiet. Let her dig whatever hole she was working on. The guy turned to leave, and as he passed me, he muttered, "This ain't over." I watched him drive off into the dark. When I turned back, Claire was already walking toward the front office. "Got anywhere I can talk to you in private?" she asked. I unlocked the manager's office. She sat down across from me, hands folded like a confession was about to happen. And it did. "I thought he was different," she started. "But he's not. He's broke, he's got 2 kids I didn't know about, and he's been using me to make his ex jealous." Charming. Her eyes locked on mine. "I know I messed up. But I also know you've been watching me." I didn't deny it. She leaned forward. "I came here to get away from all of it. Not just him. My parents, too. They turned on me when I told them what really happened. They thought I was still with him. That caught me off guard. So you're not? No, she let out a bitter laugh. He tried to hit me yesterday. I ran. A long pause. Then she said something I didn't expect. Jake, someone's been following me. That made me sit up straighter. What? Not you. Someone else. A car. It's been parked down the street every night for the past week. Same license plate. I thought it was you, but I checked last night. It wasn't. Did you call the cops? I tried. But they didn't take it seriously. Just said to keep an eye out. I frowned. My plans, my rage, all of it got blurred by that one word. Followed. Describe the car, I said. She did. And my blood ran cold. It was the same car I'd seen in her neighborhood before the lawn guy ever showed up. It wasn't me. And it wasn't him. Someone else had been watching her. And now she was here. With me. After Claire told me about the car, I didn't sleep. I pretended to, but every creak in the old motel frame jolted me alert. I left her in room 5, the cleanest one we had, and sat in my office with the security feeds flickering quietly in the dark. I watched the parking lot. Watched the street. Watched her. 1:27 a.m., a black sedan pulled into the far corner, lights off. It sat there. No one got out. I didn't move. I waited. At 2:12, the car backed out and disappeared down the road. I recorded the timestamp, printed the plate from the grainy feed, and locked the office door. Claire was asleep when I knocked. She opened the door in a t-shirt and pajama pants, hair up, face bare. She looked older. Tired. Like a woman whose regrets had aged faster than her skin. It came back, I said. She nodded. I knew it would. What aren't you telling me, Claire? She looked away. I don't know. Just this feeling. Like whoever's in that car, knows me. From before us? She hesitated. I don't know, she whispered. I didn't buy it. Not fully. But I let her close the door. The next morning, I made some calls. One of my old friends, Dean, still worked at the DMV. Took him a few hours, but he got me the plate info. Registered to a Martin Rusk. Lived 2 counties over. Name didn't ring a bell. I googled him. And that's when everything turned sideways. The first result? Obituary. Martin Rusk, age 58, deceased 8 months ago. Suicide. Survived by one son, name withheld for privacy. I sat there, blinking at the screen. 8 months. That was around the time Claire started coming home late. Started pulling away. Started changing. I clicked deeper, traced the archived funeral registry. And then I saw it. Claire Rusk. Listed under surviving family. My breath caught. She never told me her real last name wasn't Parker. That she'd changed it before we met. Never said anything about a father who'd taken his own life. Never mentioned being married before. But the real kicker? A second name listed under family. Anthony Rusk. Her son. Age, 21. I stared at the name. Cold sweat prickled down my spine. She never told me she had a kid. I raced to the footage from last night. The car. Zoomed in as far as it would go. The face behind the wheel, barely visible. Young. Maybe 20, 21. Jawline like hers. Same eyes. Her son. That night, Claire disappeared from her room. No struggle. No note. Just gone. Room 5 door cracked open. Sheets untouched. Her things? Still there. Clothes. Makeup bag. Her phone, still charging beside the bed. Like she vanished mid-thought. No sign of forced entry. Security feed showed nothing, no one leaving. No one entering. Except the same black car pulling up at 3:07 a.m. And at 3:11 a.m., pulling away. I didn't know what to do. She lied about everything, her name, her past, her son, maybe even the reason she came back. But I couldn't shake the question. Why did her son come for her now? I drove 2 hours to her old neighborhood, found the house I once thought of as home. It was empty. Foreclosed. Overgrown. Neighbors had stories. She moved out fast. Middle of the night. Never saw her again. She was with some young guy. Thought it was a lover. But he didn't act like one. One older man shook his head and said, "She's trouble, that one." Men disappear around her. When I returned to the motel that evening, I found a letter taped to the office door. No name. Just my name in neat, looping handwriting. Jake. You think you know everything. But you never ask the right questions. Yes, I lied. I had to. I didn't want you finding out who I really am. What I did. The man I ran from wasn't a lover. He was my son. He blamed me for everything. For his grandfather's death. For his ruined life. And he was right. I came to the motel to end it all. But you were there, like a ghost from a life I used to dream about. I wanted to believe you still loved me. I wanted to believe I could stay. But I don't deserve peace. He came for me. And I went. Don't look for me again. Please. See. That night, I watched the same car pass the motel. Slower than usual. The driver didn't look my way. But in the rearview mirror, just for a second, I saw her face. In the passenger seat. Looking back. And smiling.